I stood in the driveway watching Alexander's car disappear around the corner. My hand frozen mid-wave long after he was gone. The moving truck had left hours ago with half our furniture. And now my house felt cavernous, filled with nothing but echoes and regret. 6 months ago, I'd felt suffocated. Now I had all the air I could breathe, and it was choking me. My name is Nora Freeman. I'm 42 years old, and this is the story of how I blew up my life because I thought I wanted to be 25 again. It started with a reunion, as these stories often do. My college roommates and I hadn't all been together in the same place for 15 years, but Vanessa's 40th birthday seemed like as good a reason as any to change that. We'd stayed in loose touch through social media, enough to know who had kids, who got divorced, who moved to which coast. But seeing them in person at that Miami beach bar hit differently. Nora, Vanessa squealed, her arms outstretched as I walked in. Her hair was shorter than I remembered, streaked with blonde highlights that complemented her tan. She looked the same, just shinier. "You made it," I hugged her, breathing in her familiar perfume. "Happy birthday, wouldn't miss it." "Ladies, look who's here," she waved to the table where my old friends were gathered, cocktails already in hand. The gang's back together. A round of hugs and squeals followed as I reacquainted myself with the women I'd once shared everything with. Courtney, Elena, Vanessa, and Sadie. We'd been inseparable in college, partners in crime during our 20s, and then life had scattered us across the country. "Girl, you look exactly the same," Sadie said, giving me a once-over that made me intensely aware of the extra pounds I'd gained since having kids. "How do you do it?" I laughed, smoothing down the dress I'd spent too much time choosing. "Trust me, I don't." "Where's Alexander?" Elena asked, glancing behind me as if my husband might materialize. "Home with the kids," I said. "Someone had to stay behind." "Well, his loss is our gain," Vanessa grinned, passing me a pink cocktail. "To freedom." We clinked glasses, and I took a long sip, letting the sweetness wash over me. Freedom. The word lingered on my tongue, foreign yet familiar. The night unfolded like a highlight reel of our youth. Dancing on tables, flirting with strangers, stumbling back to our hotel rooms as the sun threatened to rise. For one weekend, we weren't mothers or wives or executives. We were just girls again, free from responsibility. "Remember when we used to do this every weekend?" Courtney shouted over the music, spinning with her arms above her head. "God, I miss it sometimes," I shouted back, surprising myself with the truth of it. "So come back, visit more." She grabbed my hands. "Life's too short to be so serious all the time." I laughed, but something shifted inside me. A door creaked open that I thought I'd locked years ago. When Sunday came, I hugged my friends goodbye, promising we wouldn't wait so long next time. I boarded my flight back to Connecticut with sand in my shoes and nostalgia heavy in my chest. Alexander picked me up at the airport, our 2 children, Emma, 13, and Connor, 10, in the back seat. He greeted me with a quick kiss. "How was it?" he asked, loading my suitcase into the trunk. "Amazing," I said, sliding into the passenger seat. I needed that more than I realized. He smiled, that soft, indulgent smile he always gave me when I was excited about something he didn't quite understand. "I'm glad you had fun." I told him stories from the weekend as we drove home, but I could tell he was only half listening, nodding at the appropriate moments while his mind was elsewhere, probably on the work week ahead. Alexander had always been like that, steady, focused, practical. It was what had attracted me to him in the first place, this sense that he was solid ground when I felt like I might float away. But sitting in our SUV, listening to the kids bicker in the back about some YouTuber I'd never heard of, I felt a pang of something unfamiliar. Not quite sadness, not quite anger, more like disappointment. Like I'd opened a door to a magical world over the weekend, only to have it slam shut again the moment I returned home. Our house looked exactly as I'd left it. The same beige walls, the same family photos, the same pile of mail on the kitchen counter. Alexander heated up the lasagna he'd made the night before, and we sat around the dining table, falling back into our routine as if I'd never left. "Mom, can you sign my permission slip?" Emma asked, pushing a crumpled paper toward me. "It's due tomorrow." "Did you finish your science project?" I asked Connor, who was busy pushing lasagna around his plate. "Almost," he mumbled, not looking up. Alexander talked about a meeting he had with a client, the neighbor's tree that was dropping branches into our yard, the leak in the garage roof he'd fixed while I was gone. I nodded, asked the right questions, cleared the dishes when everyone was done. But a part of me was still in Miami, dancing with my friends, feeling alive in a way I hadn't in years. That night, after the kids were in bed, I scrolled through the photos from the weekend. Vanessa had already posted an album, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, 40 edition. I zoomed in on one picture of the 5 of us, arms around each other, heads thrown back in laughter. We looked happy. We looked free. I glanced over at Alexander, already asleep beside me, his reading glasses still perched on his nose, a work report open on his chest. He looked comfortable, safe. I put my phone down and stared at the ceiling, trying to reconcile these two versions of myself. The wild, carefree Nora in Miami, and the responsible mother and wife in Connecticut. For the first time in our 15 years of marriage, I wondered if I'd made a mistake somewhere along the way. Not in marrying Alexander, no, he was a good man, a good father. But in letting go of that other part of myself, the part that danced until dawn and took risks and felt everything so intensely. I'd traded spontaneity for security, passion for stability, and until this weekend, I hadn't realized how much I missed it. I rolled over, watching Alexander's chest rise and fall. He'd never understand. He was content with our life, with our routines, with the future we'd mapped out together. He'd never felt that restless ache, that hunger for more. Or maybe he had, and he'd just gotten better at ignoring it. "I'm thinking of going to visit Vanessa again," I said casually over dinner a few weeks later. The kids had finished eating and disappeared to their rooms, leaving Alexander and me alone at the table. He looked up from his plate, surprised. "Already? Didn't you just see her?" "That was a month ago," I said, trying to keep the defensiveness out of my voice. "And it was her birthday. This would be different. Just a quick weekend trip." "What about Emma's soccer tournament? It's next weekend." I'd forgotten about that. Of course I had. "The weekend after, then." Alexander put down his fork. "Nora, what's going on? This isn't like you." "What do you mean? Running off to Miami twice in a month? You've never done that before." I bristled at his tone. "Is it so hard to believe I might want to see my friends more often?" "No, but what?" "I give everything to this family, Alexander. Everything. Is it so wrong for me to want something for myself?" He looked taken aback. "I never said it was wrong. I'm surprised, that's all." "Well, get unsurprised," I snapped, standing up to clear the plates. "I'm going." He didn't argue, which somehow made it worse. That was Alexander's way. He never pushed back, never raised his voice. He just absorbed whatever I threw at him, like a sponge soaking up water. Sometimes I wished he would fight, would give me a reason to let out all the emotions I kept bottled up. But he didn't. He just helped me load the dishwasher in silence, then retreated to his home office to work, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I texted Vanessa. "Can I come visit next weekend?" Her response was immediate. "Hell yes, girls' weekend round 2. I smiled, feeling that familiar flutter of excitement. Freedom, just a plane ride away. One weekend in Miami turned into 2, then 3. I started making excuses to miss soccer games and school events. Alexander picked up the slack without complaint, but I could see the questions in his eyes, the worry lines deepening on his forehead. "The kids miss you," he said one evening as I packed for my 4th trip in 3 months. "I'm gone for 2 days," I replied, not looking up from my suitcase. "They'll survive." "It's not just about surviving, Nora. It's about being present." I zipped my suitcase with more force than necessary. "I've been present for 13 years, Alexander. I think I've earned a break." He sighed. That deep, patient sigh that had once been comforting but now felt condescending. That's not how parenting works, and you know it. Oh, so now I'm a bad mother? I turned to face him, spoiling for a fight. I never said that. He held up his hands, ever the peacemaker. I just think something's going on with you, and I wish you'd talk to me about it. Nothing's going on, I lied. I'm just reconnecting with old friends. Until 3 a.m. in nightclubs? He pulled out his phone, showing me a photo Vanessa had posted of us dancing on a table, cocktails in hand. Is this reconnecting? I snatched the phone from him. Are you spying on me? It's Instagram, Nora. It's public. I threw the phone on the bed. So what? I'm having fun. Is that a crime? No, but it's not you either. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration finally breaking through his calm exterior. The late nights, the drinking, I don't know, all of it. You're acting like... Like what? I challenged. Like you're 25 again, like you're single. The words hung between us, heavy with implication. Maybe I want to feel like that sometimes, I said quietly. Maybe I'm tired of being just a wife and mother. His face fell, and I immediately regretted my words. Not because they weren't true, but because I knew how much they would hurt him. I never asked you to be just anything, he said. I wanted a partner. Well, maybe I want more than that. I grabbed my suitcase. My flight's in 3 hours. He didn't try to stop me. He just stood there, watching me walk away, his face a mask of resignation. On the plane, I scrolled through my phone, trying to distract myself from the gnawing guilt. A text from Alexander popped up. Have a safe flight. I love you. I stared at those 3 words, feeling a lump form in my throat. I love you. So simple, so constant. Alexander had never been one for grand gestures or passionate declarations. His love was quieter, steadier, packed lunches with little notes, handling my mother's endless phone calls so I wouldn't have to, remembering to buy my favorite coffee even when it wasn't on the list. I texted back. Landed safely. Tell the kids I love them. I didn't say I loved him too. I couldn't. Not when I was running away from everything he represented. Vanessa picked me up from the airport, her convertible top down, music blaring. Ready to raise some hell, she shouted over the wind. I grinned, pushing thoughts of home out of my mind. Always. We met up with Sadie, who'd flown in from Chicago and headed straight to a new rooftop bar Vanessa had discovered. The night unfolded in a blur of cocktails, laughter, and flirtatious conversations with strangers. That guy at the bar keeps looking at you, Sadie nudged me, nodding toward a tall man with salt and pepper hair. I'm married, I reminded her, though I'd conveniently left my wedding ring in my hotel room. Doesn't mean you can't have a little fun, she winked. What happens in Miami stays in Miami. I laughed uncomfortably, but I didn't stop her when she waved him over. His name was Thomas. He was a surgeon, and he had a smile that made my stomach flutter in a way I hadn't felt in years. Can I buy you a drink? He asked, his eyes never leaving mine. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Vodka soda, lime. Vanessa gave me a thumbs up behind his back as he turned to signal the bartender. We talked for hours, or maybe it was minutes. Time seemed to blur. He was charming, attentive, interested in everything I had to say. He didn't ask if I had kids, and I didn't volunteer the information. For one night, I was just Nora. Not a mother, not a wife, just a woman enjoying the attention of an attractive man. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him without thinking. When he texted me the next day asking to meet for dinner, I said yes. When he kissed me goodnight outside the restaurant, I kissed him back, ignoring the wedding ring burning a hole in my purse. I didn't sleep with him. I told myself that was the line I wouldn't cross. But I returned to Connecticut with his number in my phone and the memory of his lips on mine, a secret I carried like a time bomb. Alexander picked me up from the airport, the kids waiting in the car. Emma had made a welcome home sign. Connor had picked flowers from our garden. Their simple gestures of love made the guilt even heavier. How was it? Alexander asked. The same question he always asked. Fine, I said, avoiding his eyes. Just fine. The text from Thomas started innocently enough. How are you? Thinking of you. Remember that restaurant? I replied sparingly at first, then more frequently. It became a habit. Checking my phone when Alexander wasn't looking, smiling at inside jokes no one else would understand, feeling that rush of excitement whenever his name appeared on my screen. He asked when I was coming back to Miami. Soon, I promised. Soon. I need to go back next weekend, I told Alexander one evening, trying to sound casual. He looked up from his laptop, his expression unreadable. Again? Vanessa's going through a rough time, I lied. She needs her friends around her. Nora. He closed his laptop, giving me his full attention. That's the third weekend this month. The kids? We'll be fine, I interrupted. It's just 2 days. It's not just 2 days anymore. It's a pattern. He leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. I think we need to talk about what's really going on here. Nothing is going on, I insisted, heart racing. I just need some time away. Away from what? From me? From the kids? From our life? I didn't answer, which was answer enough. Alexander sighed deeply. Is there someone else? The question caught me off guard. I'd been so careful, so secretive. What? Number? Of course not. Then why do you check your phone every 2 minutes? Why do you lock yourself in the bathroom to take calls? Why do you delete your text history? Are you spying on me? I deflected, anger rising to mask my guilt. I'm observing my wife pulling away from me, he said quietly. There's a difference. I stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. I'm going for a walk. Outside, the cool evening air did nothing to calm the storm inside me. I pulled out my phone and called Thomas. I need to see you, I said when he answered. This weekend. I thought you'd never ask, he replied, and I could hear the smile in his voice. I hung up and stared at my phone, at the background image of my family at the beach last summer, all of us smiling, Alexander's arm around my shoulders. I pressed the power button until the screen went black, as if I could erase the evidence of the life I was betraying. When I returned home, Alexander was sitting in the dark living room, waiting. We can't go on like this, he said simply. Like what? Like strangers living in the same house, like co-parents instead of partners. He paused, his voice steady despite the pain in his eyes. Like you've already left us in all the ways that matter. His words cut through my defenses, exposing the truth I'd been hiding even from myself. I had left them, not physically, but emotionally. Every trip to Miami, every text to Thomas, every lie I told was another step away from the life I'd built. I don't know what to say, I whispered. Say you'll stay home this weekend. Say you'll try to figure out what you really want. Say anything that means you're still in this marriage. I looked at him, this man who had loved me steadily for 15 years, who had never asked for more than I could give, who had built a life with me brick by brick. And I felt nothing. Or rather, I felt trapped, suffocated by the very love that should have comforted me. I can't, I said finally. I need to go. Alexander's shoulders slumped, but he nodded. Then I think you should keep going. What does that mean? It means I'm done watching you tear yourself apart trying to be two different people. It means I won't put the kids through the confusion of having a mother who's only half here. He stood up, his face resolute. It means I think we should separate. The word separate hit me like a physical blow. Despite everything, I'd never thought he would be the one to say it first. You're giving up on us, I accused, suddenly desperate to shift the blame. No, Nora. You gave up on us months ago. I'm just finally accepting it. I moved out 2 weeks later. Vanessa had a spare room in her Miami condo, and she was thrilled to have me. Roomies again, she squealed when I arrived with my suitcases. Just like the old days. But it wasn't like the old days. I was a 42-year-old mother of 2, sleeping on a futon in my friend's guest room, scrolling through photos of my kids on my phone at night, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Thomas was excited at first, finally having me in the same city. We went on proper dates, spent nights together, played the role of a new couple discovering each other. But without the thrill of secrecy, without the escape from reality, something was missing. Or maybe I was the one who was missing something. The ability to be fully present, to not compare him to Alexander, to not feel the constant weight of what I'd left behind. "You're distracted," he said one night over dinner, after I'd checked my phone for the third time, hoping for a text from Emma. "Sorry," I mumbled, putting my phone face down. "Just work stuff." It was another lie. I hadn't found a job yet, was living off savings and the temporary support Alexander was sending until our divorce was finalized. The thought made my stomach clench. Divorce. It was really happening. "Listen, Nora," Thomas set down his fork, his expression serious. "I think we need to slow things down." "What do you mean?" "I mean..." He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "When we met, you were this fun, carefree woman. Now you're, I don't know, sad all the time. Checking your phone, canceling plans to call your kids, crying for no reason." "I left my family for you," I blurted out, immediately regretting the words. He looked shocked. "No, you didn't. You left your family because you were unhappy. I was just convenient." His eyes softened. "And I think you're still unhappy, just in a different way." I couldn't argue with him. He was right. We broke up that night, civil but final. I walked back to Vanessa's condo alone, the warm Miami night doing nothing to ease the chill that had settled in my bones. Vanessa was out. She was always out. Her social calendar fuller than a celebrity's. The empty condo echoed with my footsteps as I wandered from room to room, feeling like a ghost in someone else's life. I found myself in front of the mirror in the bathroom, really looking at myself for the first time in months. I looked tired, older than my 42 years, my eyes puffy from crying too much, my smile lines deeper from forcing happiness I didn't feel. "What are you doing?" I whispered to my reflection. The woman staring back at me had no answer. I pulled out my phone and, without overthinking it, called Alexander. He answered on the second ring, his voice cautious. "Nora?" "Hi," I said, suddenly unsure what to say. How are the kids?" "They're okay. Missing you." He paused. "We all are." The simple admission broke something inside me. "I miss you too," I whispered. "All of you." "Then come home, Nora." "Is it that simple?" "No," he said honestly. "It's going to be hard. We have a lot to work through, a lot of trust to rebuild. But I think what we have is worth fighting for. Don't you?" I thought about the life I'd been chasing in Miami, the parties, the freedom, the thrill of new experiences. And I thought about what I'd left behind. Family dinners, movie nights, the comfort of being truly known and loved. "Yes," I said finally, "I do." I flew back to Connecticut the next day. Alexander picked me up from the airport, alone this time. We drove in silence for a while, the familiar landscape passing by outside. "I need to tell you something," I said finally, my heart pounding. "About Miami, there was someone." He kept his eyes on the road, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "I know." "You know? I'm not an idiot, Nora." His voice was flat. I put it together. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "It's over now. It meant nothing. It meant enough for you to leave your family." I couldn't argue with that. I was lost, Alexander. I thought I wanted something different, something exciting. But I was wrong. So wrong. He sighed deeply. "I'm not saying I forgive you. Not yet. But I understand searching for something you think is missing." I looked at him, surprised. "You do?" "Of course I do. Why do you think I threw myself into work all those years? Into being the perfect father, the perfect husband. I was looking for validation, for purpose." He glanced at me briefly. "We all get lost sometimes, Nora. The difference is whether we find our way back." We pulled into our driveway, my old driveway, and sat in the car for a moment, neither of us making a move to get out. "The kids don't know everything," Alexander said. "Just that you needed some time away. That you're coming home now to try to work things out." "And are we?" "Working things out." He turned to face me fully, his eyes searching mine. "That depends. Are you really back, Nora? Not just physically, but here, present, ready to rebuild?" I thought about Miami, about Thomas, about the freedom I'd chased. It had all been an illusion, a fantasy of a life that didn't exist. At least not for me, not anymore. The real freedom, I realized, wasn't in escape. It was in choice, in choosing to love, to commit, to show up every day for the life I'd built. I'm here, I said, reaching for his hand, all the way here. It wasn't easy. The kids were wary at first, especially Emma, who at 13 was old enough to sense there was more to the story than we were telling. Alexander and I started counseling, both together and separately, trying to understand what had driven me away and how we could prevent it from happening again. I found a part-time job at a local gallery, rediscovering my love for art that I'd abandoned after college. Alexander made more effort to engage with me, to see me as more than just the mother of his children. We started dating again, real dates, where we talked about dreams and fears and everything in between. Slowly, painfully, we rebuilt our trust, our connection, our family. 6 months later, I stood in our driveway watching Alexander drive away to pick up the kids from school. But this time, I wasn't leaving. I was waiting for them to come home, to the life I'd almost thrown away in search of a freedom that had been mine all along. The freedom to choose love every day in all its messy, mundane, magnificent reality. I tried to relive my 20s and discovered that some doors are meant to close, not because what's behind them wasn't beautiful, but because what's ahead is even more so. The wild girl I'd been wasn't gone. She was just part of a larger, more complex woman. A woman who had learned that real freedom isn't about escaping your life, but about embracing it fully with all its joys and struggles. I went back inside our house, our home, and started dinner. Tonight we would eat together at the table, all 4 of us. We would talk about our days, laugh at Connor's jokes, navigate Emma's teenage mood swings. It wouldn't be perfect. Nothing real ever is. But it would be mine. A life I chose, eyes wide open, heart fully engaged. And in that choice, I found the freedom I'd been searching for all along.